Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today. If you're gearing up for the ESB L1 writing exam, or honestly, if you just want to understand the nuts and bolts of passing any structured language test, you are in exactly the right place. Think of this explainer not as some dry academic lecture, but as your supportive, empowering playbook. We're going to completely deconstruct this exam and hand you the exact strategies you need to walk into that testing room with absolute confidence. So let's get right into it. Okay, let's dive into this incredibly powerful quote from our source material. Your English is good enough. The problem is that no one has shown you how the exam works. I really want you to let that sink in for a second. So many learners approach this test literally paralyzed by anxiety, thinking they need flawless native-level grammar just to scrape a pass. But as this quote beautifully reminds us, this exam is so much more about strategy than it is about perfection. It's simply a test of whether you can communicate clearly in specific, real-world situations. That's it. We're pulling all of our insights today straight from the comprehensive manual ESB L1 Writing Mastery by engineer Shahik Hassan. Now, this isn't just some random collection of practice tests of real-world teaching experience. Plus, it's totally grounded in the science of distributed practice. That essentially means you learn way better when you space out your studying over 30 days rather than, cramming the night before. It guarantees success by teaching you the exact system the examiners themselves use.
Section 1. The Myth of Perfect English.
Now, what's really interesting here is this concept of positive marking. Look, most of us grew up with negative marking, right? You start with 100%, and every single time you make a spelling error or miss a comma, boom, the teacher's red pen strikes and your score drops. Well, the ESB exam absolutely does not work that way. The examiner actually starts you at 0 and actively looks for reasons to give you points. They are searching for what you do right, not punishing you for what you do wrong. This is huge. It completely removes that crushing pressure of needing flawless English. Seriously, you don't need perfect English. You aren't applying to be the next Shakespeare here. When we contrast perfect English with clear communication, it's wild. The examiners actually only expect about 75% accuracy. Let that sink in for a second. You can make mistakes on a literal quarter of what you write, as long as your core message gets across successfully. If your meaning is clear, you're getting the points. But, okay, here's the catch. Since they're looking for specific things to reward, you have to actually give them those specific things. Enter the rubric. This is your ultimate checklist. Before you write a single word, you have to read the instructions, underline the action verbs like describe or ask, count the exact number of points you need to make, and figure out the required tone. Why is this so crucial? Because if the rubric asks for 3 things and you only write about 2, you fail the content criterion. Ignoring a point in the rubric is literally the #1 reason students fail this exam, no matter how beautiful their English is. The examiner is basically juggling these 7 assessment criteria: plan, content, language, organization, grammar, punctuation, and spelling. To pass, you've got to satisfy every single one of these at least once across your whole exam paper. But listen up, because here is the ultimate secret. Content is the absolute most important criteria, period. You could have absolutely flawless grammar, but if you forget to answer one part of the prompt, you failed the content criteria for that task. If you literally just read the rubric carefully and answer every single point they ask of you, you are already incredibly close to passing.
Section 2. Your secret writing weapons. All right, since the pressure for absolute perfection is officially off, let's talk strategy. Every single task in the exam comes with a rubric, which is really just a fancy word for instructions, and we have a brilliant 4-step system to break it down. You read it, you underline the action verbs, you literally count exactly how many points you need to include, and you identify if your tone should be formal or informal. Before you even pick up your pen, I want you to take a metacognitive pause. Pause and think exactly like an examiner. Ask yourself, who am I writing to, and how many points must I answer? Making sure you answer every single point is simply the easiest way to lock in your marks.
Now, what's really interesting about this strategy is how we handle the mistakes you do end up making. Our source highly recommends keeping an error log to track your predictable slip-ups across grammar, punctuation, spelling, and tone, or GPST. Research on what linguists call interlanguage actually shows that language learners progress through highly predictable stages. By tracking your own errors, you start to see your specific patterns. If you're always forgetting your full stops, you're going to see it staring back at you in the log. And then you fix it so you never repeat it on exam day.
So what does the actual exam battlefield look like?
Well, it's broken down into 3 distinct tasks. Task 1 is filling out a form, which includes a short personal statement. Task 2 is writing an email, and that could be formal or informal depending on the prompt. And finally, Task 3 is the extended writing piece, like an article or an essay of about 200 words, which, by the way, strictly requires a written plan. Don't worry, we're going to conquer these one by one.
Section 3. Task 1. Form filling. This first one is pretty much universally considered the easiest way to rack up points, if you know exactly what the examiner is looking for. Task 1 is just simple form fields. You know, your name, your address, that kind of thing, plus an open response section called the personal statement. Now, here is a massive insider tip for you. The examiner doesn't even check grammar or spelling on those basic form fields. But the personal statement? That is your chance to shine. You have to write 40 to 50 words explaining why you're applying. You can easily hack this by memorizing a template beforehand, something like, I am applying for this role because, and then simply filling in the blanks on exam day.
Section 4. Task 2. Email correspondence.
Moving on to the email. You're going to write about 150 words here, and your audience dictates everything about your tone. And this brilliantly illustrates the contrast you need to be aware of. If you're writing to an employer, you have to use a formal tone. You say, Dear Sir and Madam, you use complete sentences without contractions, and you sign off with yours faithfully. But if the rubric says you're writing to a friend, you absolutely must be informal. Use their first name, say, Hi Sarah, use contractions like I'm, and sign off with love or cheers. Using an informal tone for a formal task is literally the fastest way to lose marks. I mean, signing off a job application to a bank manager with love Sarah is definitely not going to get you the job.
Section 5. Task 3. Extended writing.
I need you to hear me loud and clear on this next point. You absolutely must write a plan for Task 3 to achieve Criterion 1.1. If you don't include a visible plan, I'm talking even just a messy little mind map or a quick bulleted list of 10 keywords, you automatically fail the planning criterion. Seriously, do not skip this step. Once you've got that plan scribbled down, you want to aggressively chunk your ideas into a really clear sandwich paragraph structure. You start with a topic sentence that just states the main idea. Then stack on your supporting sentences to give some nice examples. Finally, wrap it up with a concluding sentence. And don't forget to connect the whole shebang using simple linking words like firstly or however. It's an easy way to prove your organizational skills to the examiner.
Okay, so now we arrive at the heavy lifter of the exam. This extended writing section requires 200 words, and remember the golden rule. You absolutely must provide a mandatory written plan before you start writing the actual answer. For this task, your paragraph structure is everything. Our source uses this incredibly simple visual analogy that is perfect for B1 level writers, the paragraph sandwich. Every single paragraph should be about one specific thing. The top bun is your topic sentence, which just tells the reader the main idea. Then comes the meat, which is 2 to 4 supporting sentences that give details or examples. And finally, the bottom bun, an optional concluding sentence to wrap it all up. Doing this keeps your writing beautifully organized, and it makes it so incredibly easy for the examiner to just hand you points.
Now, within Task 3, you might be asked to write a discursive essay. And I have to warn you, this is a massive stumbling block for a lot of students. You have to understand the structural difference between an opinion essay and a for-against essay. In an opinion essay, you've got to state your personal view right out of the gate in the introduction. But if it's a for-against essay, you have to stay completely neutral at the start. You lay out the advantages, you lay out the disadvantages, and you only reveal your personal opinion right at the very end in the conclusion. Getting these two mixed up will definitely cost you points, so keep them straight.
Section 6. The winning exam strategy. All right, we've covered the tasks, the tone, and the structure, but there's one final, absolutely critical piece to this puzzle. You could know all the grammar in the world, but if you don't manage the clock, you simply won't pass. You have exactly 90 minutes to complete all 3 tasks. That's 1.5 hours total. Time management in this exam isn't just some helpful suggestion. Pacing yourself is literally everything.
So, the crucial point is how you budget that time. Enter the 20-30-40 rule. You spend 20 minutes on Task 1, 30 minutes on Task 2, and 40 minutes on the heavy lifting of Task 3. You really have to stick to this. And listen, here is the absolute golden rule of exam survival. Never, ever leave a task blank. Remember what we said about positive marking. Partial answers earn partial marks. Even if you look at the clock and you only have 5 minutes left, write something, anything for that task, because a blank page earns 0 points every single time.
Well, that brings us to the end of our explainer. You've seen the mechanics, you know the structures, and you're armed with the 20, 30, 40 timing rule. This exam is honestly not trying to trick you. It's practically waiting to reward you for clear communication. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Will you let the myth of perfect English hold you back, or are you ready to use this exact strategy to confidently claim your passing marks? I think we both know the answer to that. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and happy studying.